Hi everyone, my name is Nia. I am an author living in the Pacific Northwest, and some time ago I gave you my review of the Freewrite smart typewriter, the third generation, and I was pretty happy that we had some engagement with the video. As the video existed longer in time, I got more questions that were on the theme of, am I still using the Freewrite, among other themes? And I have been promising a video to talk a little bit more about that, and so here that video is. Of note, I have recorded this video about 4 times and then just either wasn't happy with the quality, or a couple days ago I recorded it and was really happy with the quality until I listened to it and realized that the candle that I was burning, the wooden wick candle, was making a lot of noise in the background. So we are back to a cotton wick, and here we go with my opinion, the re-review of the third generation smart typewriter from Freewrite. Before I get into that and other musings, I do have to mention that Freewrite is not sponsoring this video. I did have to save my own cabbage to come up with the funds to buy this Freewrite. So these experiences are uninfluenced by Freewrite at all, except for the price that they put on the cost of the device, which definitely has influence on my opinion. So if you are watching this video and you are from Freewrite or know someone that's there and they want a review of that beautiful red Valentine Freewrite, call me. So the first question, am I still using the Freewrite? Yes, asterisk. I have a lot of notes on the benefits of this device, and they're mostly positive a year and a half in, so here goes. In the last video, I talked about my Jo March moment where I lost my manuscript, which was a 0 draft of a novel that I'm still working on. And it was because I was not backing up my Scrivener to my iCloud. I was just backing it up to the desktop, which is a huge mistake. Don't make that mistake, or you might be finding yourself crying to a 19-year-old in the downtown Apple store. Consider it a character building device, but here we are. I decided I was going to rewrite that manuscript because I had already written it, right? So I was going to do that for Nano. So I did that shortly after I did that last video. I did rewrite that 0 draft, and it still felt very much like a 0 draft. So it'll be a long time before we see anything from that. But it was all done on the Freewrite. So for that purpose, the Freewrite smart typewriter was absolutely perfect for that project. I am very fortunate at my work in that we have these kind of quiet meditation rooms that you can use on your lunch break or whenever during the day, and they're not utilized that often, and my lunch break does not necessarily coincide with many other people's breaks. So I was able to bring my Freewrite up there and not my laptop with the 42 tabs open and just work on drafting and getting out the words on the page that I did not have to think too much about. So for that purpose, the Freewrite was absolutely perfect. I usually bring my laptop to work with me. It's more portable, and if I bring it with the intention of writing, that rarely gets done because I can almost find something in those 42 tabs that I can work on besides my manuscript that is way more dopamine inducing than putting words down on a page, which usually feels like work. There were a couple of cons about bringing this in, and I say when I said I lug it in, I mean I lug it in. It's a little bit heavier than your average laptop. It has this handle, but if you have any wrist issues or carpal tunnel, that may not feel as great. I didn't buy a case for it. I used the dust cover that it came with and then put it in my backpack in the laptop sleeve, but it's so heavy that I remember putting my backpack down when I was taking the Max here, and I just felt it go like clunk, and then you have that oof moment. I have something really expensive in that bag. It's definitely something to think about. It's clunky as a device to bring around. I have liked it a little bit more when I'm just bringing it into a coffee shop when I'm doing my library or coffee time, and then I can take it back home and put it away. Addressing another question that I had in the comments was, when I was in a coffee shop or library, is it too loud? Are these mechanical keys that I love so much too much for my audience? And no, I have never been told that or told that it's too loud. As a matter of fact, The majority of comments that I get when I'm out writing in public, it is, what is that thing? That's really amazing. And I'll hear stories about people and their love for typewriters and their experiences when they started writing. So it's actually been a way to kind of have a pleasant 90-second interaction with a stranger, whether you want it or not. This is, despite clunking it down on the ground, it's a sturdy beast. She is solid. I have never lost anything in a draft, and she's still in the same shape as when I bought her a year and a half ago, with no issues. Regarding the glitching that I mentioned that happened, that has not happened to me at all the same way that it happened from the first video. What has happened is, if it has been a couple of months, which I'll get to, if it's been a little bit of time since I've used the Freewrite and then I plug it in to recharge it, I might have the experience where it's stuck on the rebooting screen and it won't move from there unless I hit the power button. So take that as you will. I have never lost a draft. It's always rebooted fine. So the software in the device feels pretty solid. So yes, I am still using the Freewrite. Here comes the asterisk part. I really enjoy using this for long form fiction. I'm a little bit newer to short form fiction. I have been putting out some more short stories recently, and the experience on the Freewrite for me is a little bit different. So I am curious to hear, if you have the Freewrite, the difference between the short form and long form fiction. When I am writing long form fiction, I know that I have more time to explore characters, and that when I'm going back, it's going to be a monster rewrite anyway. You're going to have to do a lot of revision and character development. And so that in my head, it's a little bit easier to leave kind of the editing for later. When I go to short stories, I have a harder time with it. I do a lot of editing while I'm writing and a lot of editing in process, while I'm sitting thinking of a better word or a more concise way to express my idea in a 2,000 to 4,000-ish word story. And I have found that a little bit more burdensome on the Freewrite. So I have started some short stories and then just transferred them over. So I guess that, a short story and a chapter are not that much different in length, difference in length as far as the word count. But as far as the concept and what you're trying to do, for me currently, and as someone that is not very experienced in writing short stories, it's not as crisp as a process. So I'm curious to hear what your experience is. So for the time that I am writing on long form fiction, definitely the first draft. And then in the revision of that zero draft that I mentioned, there's some changes that I'm making in the script. One, for example, is I had a world that had few characters, like really sparse, kind of a more deserted fantasy world. And going into it more, I said, there's more characters I want here. There's more of a village with a personality and shops, and I want that experience. And since I'm kind of doing that as a rewrite, I'm doing it on the Freewrite. It also has a little bit more of a romantic quality, as far as that idea of like, I am a writer in a cabin in the woods, and I'm walking around in my cape with my scented candle that suits the vibe of whatever the scene is that I'm trying to set. All of that is a little bit more possible for me with the Freewrite than it is with my laptop open. So do you need to spend $700 on a vibe? No, I just consider it a perk. So, free vibes with your $700 device. It is impressive to me that they kept it the same price as when I bought it a year and a half ago, because there's so many things that are going up and up and up in price. So the fact that it hasn't moved is good. The vibe has also helped with these kind of beautiful mechanical keys. That sound, I love it. You could go less expensive. I think after I bought this device, or around that time, they released the Alpha, which is smaller and also doesn't have the mechanical keys if you're worried about the noise, if you have somebody that's really kind of clackety-clack averse. And there's always the Traveler. The Traveler was around when I bought this one, and I do have a good friend that writes that has a Traveler, and she's way more organized and productive in her writing. And I think it makes a lot of sense for her. The Traveler, you can fold it up, slip it in your purse, and then go, and then have a drafting device. So I think it just depends on what you are looking for. I knew that I wanted the sound, so I guess in part I did pay $700 for a vibe. So there is something to be said about whatever happens to your brain when you pull out just your writing device. So It is similar, I guess, to if I'm writing on a pad and paper when I have a specific journal or something that I use for writing, that when I take out my Freewrite, my brain knows that we are writing. We are not looking at cat reels. We are not shopping. We are solely here to write. And so that is a really strong benefit to having the Freewrite. And I'll say a little bit more about that later. The Freewrite did go away for several months at a time. That's how I know how the rebooting works, because there was just a lot happening in my life where I was just not writing. I could not access that creative part of my brain. So, you know, a lot of the delay in not getting the video too was related to just, I was not writing at all at that time. And I go through periods like that, and that is what it is. But as I started getting back into short stories, as I mentioned, I was doing them a little bit more on the laptop than I was here. And I think that was one of the ways that I kind of eased back into it, because of the way that I mentioned that about the short stories and editing a lot as I'm writing. I did not find that was great for the Freewrite. Now, I've mentioned this before, the Freewrite is great at their marketing, very much like this is a drafting device. This is a butt in chair method. This is something that will help to get you writing. And I am conscious, some people have mentioned in the comments and in person, like, yeah, you can, you know, go to get to the word that you want to edit it. And I still hate it. I know that you can do it. I don't like it. That is not my preferred way to edit. And so honestly, even as a person that in the past, when I notice a spelling or grammar error, I will correct it right away. If I'm in Scrivener or Docs or Pages or whatever, but not on the Freewrite, I will leave it. I just leave it because I don't like it that much as far as editing. So that is not the fault of the Freewrite. That is, I think, a plug for the Freewrite, if anything, to just get it down. You're gonna have to copy edit later. So just leave it for that, get your words down and keep going. I got a critique in one of my writing groups that I've been a part of for about 5 years. And one of my co-authors said, you know, I'm gonna tell you, she was telling me about a part of my fiction that, you know, wasn't her favorite, and something that somebody had mentioned I could add some details to make the edit cleaner. And she said, I'm gonna challenge you not to touch it. Just get the words on the page and submit that thing to us, submit your next chapters to us, and then just keep going until you're done and then edit it later. Because I have a history of hitting a wall, either by having a Joe March moment or by getting 10 chapters into a revision and going, oh, if I do that, then I'm gonna have to rewrite the whole thing, rather than just keeping going and having another completed, better manuscript. Then I honestly have been in spots where I've just been editing the first 10 chapters over and over again. And so obviously in that, I'm not working on the Freewrite. So if you are stuck in revision purgatory, don't do it on the Freewrite, use your other writing software. So yes, Freewrite works for me personally. Sample size of 1. Yes, I am working on the Freewrite. I am loving the Freewrite. The Freewrite for me, as I mentioned, did solve a problem that I had. It was a solution to being really super distractible, having 42 tabs open and having a butt in chair kind of thing. And here's the part where I give a few more asterisks. I think this is a function of maybe being a younger writer in writing years or emerging author, that I have gotten stuck in patterns where I'm just reading a bunch of craft books or watching an author tube or really learning about the craft, focusing on going to conferences and going to writing groups or picnics or things like that, where I am socializing, but not necessarily doing the work of writing, just trying to emulate practices or kind of be around or feel like you're part of a community. And so I think that what I will challenge you to do, if you're really thinking about, do I need to drop money on this device, is consider what problem are you trying to solve? I, for one, have said, let me try such and such an author's writing routine, write with their pencils, pick up the sketchbooks that they use, and had in my writing groups, ooh, shiny object syndrome, like they're using this new device and I need to look at it. And really, I should be there to focus on my story. So that's something interesting that I have just noticed about how my brain works. And I think about how a lot of our brain works. And I do question if just part of it is just thinking, you know, here is an author that has attained something that I want. Either they have a book that I like or a best-selling novel, or they've established some kind of clout in the community. And if I do it like they do it, then I can have that too. And so really understanding what you need from the process could be helpful, because has the Freewrite been helpful for me? Yes, absolutely. I completed another draft of the novel. I am rewriting some of that novel on this. The parts where I have to rewrite whole chunks or chapters are being done on the Freewrite. But I'm going to give you a couple of other tools that I have used as well that have been helpful, just in case you're not ready to jump off the $700 blanket. It's not a new method, but it is a modified kind of pomodoro method. You probably have seen it if you've written ever in a group or been around writers, that we love a ticking clock, many of us. So me, like probably most of you watching, I wear a lot of hats. I work, I'm a parent, I write, I volunteer, I have a small business, I have 493 hats that I wear throughout the day. And it is so easy to get sucked into the narrative that I don't have time to write. And also part of that narrative is maybe I'm not writing 2 to 3 hours a day after my yoga session and all of this stuff. So maybe I'm not really a real writer. Yeah, it is amazing to me when I think back on it, on how much time I think I've maybe wasted or not benefited from thinking like, well, I'm not really a writer. Well, if you wrote a little bit a day, then you are a writer, and you are writing because it's active. It is a process. It is something that you're actively working on. And I've given myself permission to just say that I wrote, if I did 15 minutes, if I did a ticking clock of 15 minutes and sat down and wrote. And often when I sit down to write, I can do more than that. And that is something that I did kind of, I guess, make a bargain with my brain. Like, yeah, if you can find 15 minutes to watch cat reels, then maybe you can find 15 minutes to write or revise. And then it just feels so good to just check that box. Also, I found that if I say, okay, I'm going to sit down, I'm going to do a 15-minute sprint. It's kind of like when you say that you're going to go take a walk or go to the gym and you're just going to spend 10 minutes there. Well, by the time you've done 10 or 15 minutes, you're kind of getting in a roll, getting some new ideas, and so you keep going. I would offer that to you, that if you're writing, then yes, you are a writer. No, it doesn't need to be every day, but you probably can find a few minutes where you can sit down and do it. And there are some days where I can't, or I can't find the energy to do that. So I say that kind of with another little asterisk that that is true for me at least 5 days out of the week, that I can make that happen. So something to give a shot. So for my writing sprints, I'll pick a block of time. Usually they're better for me when I go out. I think I mentioned in the last video that I did better when I was outside and alone in like the library or coffee shop or something, but I still will go out with a block of time, and that's when I usually get the more sprints done. I think I'm trying to make more of my time, on a brain evaluation level, that if I'm out for 2 to 3 hours, then I'm more likely to get more writing done than if I say, I just want to write for 15 minutes and come sit here at my dining room table and write. So I have done that with other people. I'm very strict. When I set the timer, I'm like, okay, we're writing, we're not talking. And so the expectation is like, it's like taking a test and nobody's supposed to be having side chatter and things like that. So it tends to work out really well. I do have good and talented writer friends that hate this method. They cannot do it. They don't like the ticking clock. And so it doesn't work for everybody. It does not. It's just something I thought that I would share with you that's free, that you can put in your pocket. And if you try it and you don't like it, then you know that you hate it already. So happy birthday. I am hoping to put another video up that's just a little bit more about being an emerging author. I don't love doing video editing, so I can't promise how many videos or when they're going to go up as of right now. Things are changing with my personal schedule a little bit, so maybe they'll be more frequent coming up. But the next video I wanted to talk about was something that I brought up, which was craft books. I have been through dozens of craft books, and I often read them in chunks. I'll read like the first unit, or I'll skip to a section when I'm really working on developing a character, for example. But I have been recently in love with this one. This is Imagine a Door by Laura Stanfill, who is a local author and has her own press. And I've actually been reading this one and taking notes and even highlighting and annotating in the book, which I never do, but I gave myself permission with this one. And so I'll be talking to you about this and some other craft books that I really like, including some specific for kid lit and fantasy, which is kind of my bag of tea. And I hope to share those in the upcoming video in the upcoming weeks. Until then, again, I thought it was really cool that the first video had a few thousand views, and then I got a few dozen subscribers after that. So thanks for your patience in getting this video back out. I think that having you all here in community really helps to remind me we are not alone, especially those of us who are really trying to get our start and figure out if that writing hat fits on our head, that we need to do that together. So thanks for being here. Thanks for being with me. And until the next video, just keep quacking, and I'll talk to you later. Bye.